Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda, and this is the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast.
This podcast is all about taking action and creating that badass business abundance and life that you want.
Where we share stories, laughs, wins, and epic fails to show you the whole picture of the entrepreneurial journey.
It's not just unicorns and rainbows, people.
Jump on and follow us through this raw and witty roller coaster,
where we get down and dirty and go behind the scenes of life and entrepreneurship.
Get on it,
get over it,
and get after it.
Hey, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. We are back again with another incredible guest. Laura, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we have Laura Wallace, or LauraAura, who is an alignment coach for female entrepreneurs, guiding them to learn how to honor their energy and truly listen to what they want instead of what they've been taught they should. Laura is the CEO of Works & Co., an urban branding studio, the host of a top 10. Ooh, I upgraded you.
I will accept that.
Yes. Manifesting for you.
I feel it. I accept it.
The Gutsy podcast. Speaker, author, and all around. She says visionary, but she's badassery. She's all around badass. She'll be the first person to push you out of your comfort zone and the last to hug you as you head to the next level of your life. Welcome, LauraAura.
Thank you. Thank you. This is going to be a good conversation. I can feel it.
No, I was super stoked waking up super early this morning and being like, oh, she's our people. She's a good combination. So tell us a little bit how you got into alignment coaching and all that you do, all the badass.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I did not set out in my career to be an alignment coach or a podcast host or a speaker. I started my journey as a graphic designer 22-ish years ago, and I've built a branding agency for the last 16 years. But through working with people with branding, I found that I was really intrigued by the thoughts that they were having, the kind of side conversations that the owners and the CEOs and the entrepreneurs would come to me with. And it was like, you know what? Like, I know I have these thoughts and feelings. I can't possibly be the only one. So what if we started to have these conversations? So I started interviewing people on something called the Green Couch Project, which was a whole super cool production. People actually physically came in and sat on my green couch, and we had just raw conversations about all the shit that we're all thinking and feeling, but feel like we're alone. And it was through that process that I really found like there is a whole different fire that burns in me when I'm talking to people, when I'm teaching people, when I'm listening to what's going on in their head. And so that just slowly but surely turned into more coaching. It turned into then the Gutsy podcast, which I'll accept wholeheartedly as a top 10. And that's what has led me to really focusing on helping women get out of their own way, to shift the crap that's going on in their head that they've been taught that they should, or societal standards, or crap that's happened in their life or along their journey, and start doing things the way that they really feel like they want to embrace the things that they keep thinking and feeling, but maybe haven't been able to for whatever reason. So that's what brings us here today.
I love that. I think it's so important. I think women can do literally anything, and they absolutely limit themselves the most, more than anything else. All this craziness that goes on in our heads, it's unbelievable how much we limit ourselves just in our own thought process.
Absolutely. I mean, I see it more often than not. Like when it never ceases to amaze me that when I look at a woman or we're having a conversation, I'm like, well, what would you like? What do you want? It's complete deer in headlights. It's like, I don't know. I haven't thought about that, or no one's ever asked me that, right? Like there's just all these roles and responsibilities, and everything and everyone always comes first. And when you peel back the layers and you're like, wow, I haven't really thought about what do I actually want in any scenario. And it's something as simple as ordering lunch or dinner out at a restaurant. Like, oh, do I need to do the thing that everyone else is doing? Or like, oh, because of the health thing or the diet or whatever. What do I actually want right now? What does my body need right now from me? And then giving yourself permission to do those things. Like it's such in the tiniest moments that we unintentionally give away who we actually are. and it adds up. And then the days go by and the years go by and sometimes decades go by and we have no idea what we want.
It's so true. I was literally just having my initial meeting with a new client, a high profile client actually. And she's done all of this work to heal and process through some stuff that's going on, but yet she's still so numb. I asked her, like, well, what does that look like? Like, what is that future? Because she has to make a transitional decision, and it's big because she's high profile, and she's like, I don't know. And it was like this moment of like, you could feel her like deflativeness because she was just wanting, like, she just doesn't have that connection anymore. And it's interesting as you're speaking, like, it's really like over time, we lose that true connection to our gut instinct, to our women's intuition, which we're born with. Like we just to do what we think we're supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want anybody to listen that's listening to that's feeling like, yeah, that's totally me. I want you to know that it's possible to shift through and out of that, right? Like that's a really challenging feeling. I've been there more times than I care to count, but I have been. And you can shift through that. You can start to honor yourself regardless of what situation you're in, what life changes that you're making, what decisions need to be made. You can start to choose you today, right now in this moment. It's not too late. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah. And I love that this podcast is coming out right towards the end of the year when we're all thinking New Year's resolutions, and Lynn and I are not New Year's resolutions people. And I can't state more like how important it is to figure it out now and do it now. Like, what do you want? And I only think of that because last year, right around New Year's resolution time, somebody asked me if I could have one thing for the new year, what would it be? And I knew what my thing was for me, but then I'm like, oh, I should probably list something for my kid. I should probably list something for like, or for charity, or I put my own desire below it because I'm like, I think that the better answer here is one that's more philanthropic or that's more maternal or whatever. But it's so important no matter what time of year it is, regardless of New Year's resolutions or any time of year, is to do it now. Like, what do you want? And then do it now, because now is the only time you have.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I'm not a New Year's resolution kind of gal. If it works for you, then do that. Right. But I find more often than not that it puts the societal like expectation on you. And then, 6 weeks go by and it drops off inevitably. And then you go into this shame cycle and here I do it again. And I can't uphold anything. And now another year's gone by and I feel bad about myself. And it's not super productive. Right. So what I like to do is I like to just set an intention, just something that I'd like to focus on, something I'm going to pull more into my life, something that I can just shine a little bit brighter of a light on. So 2023, my intention was joy. How can I bring more joy into my life? How can I make decisions that draw more joyous moments or opportunities into my life? And I find that that's just a much more like, I even want to kind of like sway in my chair. Like it's just a much more fluid, like feeling that you can implement into all the different things that you do. It's not such a hard, like abrasive, I have to lose 50 pounds or whatever it is that the commercials want to tell you, right? Like it's just a much softer approach that helps you call in again more of who you really are, the things that you actually want.
I couldn't agree more. And just to clarify for our audience, we are not New Year's resolution people, but we are definitely badass goal setters. But we also have structure and systems and accountability and all of that. And they are our goals. So I love what you were saying there, is that it's really about like honoring what you truly want and need, and like, and having that. And I mean, I know that Amanda and I go back and forth with the woo-woo stuff, but because I'm more of the woo-woo person, but the calling in and like the setting intention and stuff, it's something that I do. I know Amanda does it as well now.
Do it in my own more scientific way. I do it.
Yeah. However, how coupled with that, like it's really, really it's about checking in and seeing what you truly want and empowering yourself even more. Because, and I know you say this across your website and different things that you talk about, and you mentioned it earlier, like giving away our power. And I know you talk around a lot how we unintentionally or even subconsciously give away our power. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. And for our men that are listening, although LauraAura does this with women, this is also, I mean, we definitely, women, we disconnect, but men, if this is speaking true to you as well, like listen up, because you can step more into your power as well. So I don't want to exclude you as well, but where are people giving away unintentionally or subconsciously their power?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought the guys up too, because there's a whole different set of standards put on to men,
Yeah.
right? Like don't show feelings and be the tough guy and you always have to be the one in charge. And like you're a human being, regardless of gender or non-conforming. You're a human being. Whether you're a business owner or you're in a career path or you're a parent or you're a friend or a spouse, you are a human being. So those thoughts, feelings, and expectations don't go away just because of whatever role that you're filling in your world and in your life. So I often say unintentionally giving away your power because most people don't wake up every day and be like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to do what everyone else wants me to do. I'm going to discredit myself. I'm going to put myself on the back burner. I'm going to burn myself out today, right? Like more often than not, people are not waking up with that as their conscious thought. It's this subconscious habit, belief system, people pleasing. Holy moly, let's bring that one right to the forefront. Like we want to make sure everyone else is taken care of. We want to, we don't want to disappoint anybody. We don't want to let anybody down. So we unintentionally put ourselves on the back burner. We get what's left of ourselves, right? In your business, unintentionally giving away your power might look like undercharging. It might look like packing your schedule, even though that you know that you need white space in your day every day, right? It's working up until midnight every night and then getting up and doing it all over again every single day, right? It's in these little tiny decisions where we are putting ourselves last or just not thinking about ourselves. We want to make sure that everything and everyone else is taken care of first. So unintentionally giving away your power looks like I don't even know what I need because I haven't sat long enough to think about it. I haven't really digested what my body needs. I haven't thought about what my goals are, right? Like I haven't really put two and two together to say, okay, to get to this goal, I need to honor my time. I need to increase my prices. I need to do this. And then holding yourself to that. That's one of the most challenging parts, right? When no one else is looking, when there's no more accountability system, it's really hard to hold yourself accountable, but it's not impossible. So, you know, it's just something to start thinking about of like, where may I be unintentionally giving away parts of myself? Whether that's through a decision, whether that's through an action, whether that's through commitments, and where can I start to reclaim a little bit of myself today?
I love that. And Amanda, I know you have a question, but it's like a muscle. You have to, once you start using it and flexing it, that empowered decision making and putting yourself first and like really looking at the alignment, it really is like a muscle. And Amanda and I were just talking about this with our own business, right? Because we have our separate businesses, but we have obviously the Badasserie brand and how we've been in that flow. We are in that flow with other things, but things can drop off and how to reconnect back to that flow. And I think it's really important that because I'm a visual person, if you look at it like a muscle, the more you use it, the easier it will get, the more intuitive it happens, like almost like on autopilot for you versus, for others. And which is not a bad thing. You have to fill your own cup. I love that you said that.
Yeah, I think that one of the most important things that you can do is just pause before you make a decision. Pause before you take action. Pause before you just keep plowing through. And a pause does not have to be this whole 30-minute like routine. Pausing literally sometimes is just a couple seconds to stop, to reconnect with yourself, and ask yourself a very simple question. What do I want or need right now? And then choose to take action from that space. And if you do that long enough times, like that muscle, it gets stronger and you have to think about it less because now it's like your new normal, right? It's a new subconscious belief that has replaced an old one. So it's really empowering, and big changes happen with little tiny decisions. It adds up over time.
Yeah. And I think it's important to really note here that this is where people pleasing is going to be a hard one, because when you step into that power that you have suppressed for probably your whole life, it's going to ruffle feathers. And there's going to be someone who, well, for me anyway, the times that I have seen it personally, there's going to be people who just assume that you are mean, that you are not a nice person, that you are bossy, and sometimes those things are true. I'm not saying that those things aren't real sometimes. However, they're not, you can be empowered in your own self and not necessarily be mean. They don't have to go together. But I think a lot of society and just the way that we were raised and the way that we feel like we're supposed to act, when you start to realize your own power, you start to realize that everybody else doesn't like that. Yeah. And that's hard for a lot of people.
And I think that another big misconception is the difference between people pleasing and helping others. Like there is an enormous difference. A lot of times people think that it's like black or white. Either I'm a people pleaser or I just help no one and I'm a selfish asshole. Like, hold on a second. Like, let's reel this back for a hot minute and look at people pleasing really comes from a place of trying to get validation for yourself. Whereas helping others comes from a place of truly fulfilling other people. So it really thinking about the energy that goes behind what is my intent with helping this person? Am I trying to fill something within myself? Am I doing this from a place where I need their validation, where I'm trying to check off my own boxes? Or have I actually filled my own tank and now I feel really good helping this person? I don't have any expect of anything in return. I feel energized by doing this. I feel good by the time I'm finished with it. Like it's just such a different energy. So just because you're not people pleasing anymore doesn't mean that you're not helping people. It means that you've taken care of yourself first. And that gives you so much more capacity to be able to help people on just a much more like rich, beautiful way.
Well, also I'll add to that. Of course, some of the people who know me well that are listening be like, of course you said this. It also comes from the place of control. Like, are you actually in the driver's seat when you're people pleasing and stuff? You're kind of not, because you're allowing what you think that they need, or sometimes what they're saying that they need or want versus what you truly are connected to and aligned to, right? So you're giving away that power, in my opinion, and that control. Like you're not in the driver's seat. And so who is that really serving? It's actually not serving anybody. And so It's really important for those that like to have a little bit more control in their lives to know that.
Yeah, it can be a little bit challenging, right? When you're the one that's used to being in control to like fully release that, right? Like I am truly here just to be of service. And I don't need to tell you how to do it or what to do or call the shots. And like, I am releasing that. What do you need me to do right now? Right. And that can be an uncomfortable space, but I think it's actually way more fulfilling, right? Because then you're truly just helping that person in the way that they need it, not in the way that you think that they need it.
Part of that platinum rule, treating people the way they want to be treated, not the way you think you want to be treated or you think they want to be treated. It's all outward and working on what they want, not what necessarily you think they want.
Yeah.
Well, I love that simple tool that you give them in the moment. You because I'm a practical person. Amanda's a practical person, like giving our audience practical things. So in that moment, you can turn around and ask, what do I want? Or what do I need? Because sometimes your need needs to come before your want. And sometimes your want needs to come before your need. And so what are some of the things that you work or teach your clients? I mean, obviously we don't want you to give away all your goods, but to give a couple of tips of like how to navigate that. Like, how do they stay grounded? How do they stay, like, how do they get clear on that voice?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a process I'd be happy to share if you're open to that.
Absolutely.
So it's called the power back process. And it's just a very simple thing that you can do in the moment. When your brain wants to go 100 miles an hour, you start overthinking, you start bashing yourself, you feel out of control, like, woo, like I'm trying to move forward and my mind and my body are not cooperating, right? So the power back process is an acronym, AURA, aura. It's intended to help you get back into your own version of aligned energy. I say your own version of aligned energy because mine looks very different than yours. Yours looks very different than your clients. You know, like everyone has their own version. So one of the things I love about this is it's you can do it anywhere. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to buy anything. You can be standing in a crowd of 50 people and do this in your mind. And B, it helps you reconnect back with you. It's a framework, but it's so individual that it's for you. So A is for awareness. We have got to notice our thoughts, our feelings, our habits, our actions. If we don't notice shit, we can't change shit. Period. End of story. So by bringing awareness, it's just noticing, okay, I'm starting to feel kind of anxious right now. Where do I feel that in my body? Okay, I feel that in my chest. Okay, what are my thoughts right now? Oh, I'm starting to beat myself up. I'm saying that old story. Like I'm just noticing it, right? I'm bringing attention to it. That allows us to go into you, which is to unpack it. Where did this come from? What's going on? It's a way to diffuse what's going on. So each one of these steps, we're like diffusing this bigness and coming back into ourselves. So unpacking it is, did I read something that kind of triggered me? Is this an old thing that I always have done and now I'm trying to break it? Like, did somebody say something that a parent or a friend said to me that has triggered me now? Like, what's going on with it? I like to look at unpacking kind of like listening to a child that's feeling kind of distressed or upset, like, getting down on their level, listening to them, holding a compassionate space. That's such a really important part of this because it really starts to soften things. Now we can go into R, which is to reframe it. This is where you get to reconnect with your higher self. What is really true? What is possible with this? How can we reframe this situation? Am I really not worthy of charging this amount of money? Or do what I do brings like incredible value to my clients and changes their life, right? Like we're getting back into the truth of things. And then that allows us to take aligned action. Now we're choosing consciously. We've gotten back into our conscious mind now, which we only think out of and act out of in a very, very tiny fraction of our day. But now we've gotten back into ourselves and now we can take action from that space. And this process, again, sometimes it takes me 15 seconds to go through it. Bigger things, it takes me a little bit longer, right? But regardless, it's actively getting back into yourself. It's that pause and that little turn of the dial that gets you a different outcome. And by doing that enough times, you create a new, healthier habit. And eventually you don't have to think about it nearly as much. So this has been life-changing, not just for me, but for the people that I work with. Because it's just such a simple tool that helps you get back into yourself so that your mind doesn't take you down a windy road, where you're playing this professional game of whack-a-mole and you're not sure what's going on, right? Like, it's like, okay, I'm back in control. I've reclaimed myself. And I'm getting closer to the thing that I actually want instead of repeating the thing that gets me the thing that I don't.
Do not repeat the things that get you what you don't want. That is a hard one to do, particularly, like you said, if you're not aware, if you aren't paying attention to your habits and how they affect everything that you do. Because if you want to talk about, people always talk about consistency. And yes, consistency is great, but if you're consistently doing the wrong things, you're consistently going to get better at getting worse. Like that's what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I often say online that the thing that you want the most is often behind the thing that you resist the most.
Oh, so true.
That's usually the reaction that I get. It's one of those seeds where like a week from now, you're going to be like, damn it, Laura. Like, but it's so true. And when you start to build awareness around that, holy blinking lights, Batman, like it really becomes very evident very quickly. But as uncomfortable as that is, trying something new to get you to the thing that you actually want is a temporary discomfort. Of course, there's going to be pushback. Your body, your subconscious, your mind, it knows what to do because that's what you've been doing. And anytime we go against that to get something new, there's going to be resistance. There's going to be pushback. There's going to be doubt. But continuing to do the thing that you don't want and resisting the thing that you do, it's just perpetuating it, right? You're living the same pain, discomfort, lack of joy, whatever it is, over and over and over again. Whereas choosing to do something new, while uncomfortable, it's temporary. Sometimes a couple hours, sometimes a couple days, sometimes a couple weeks, you move through that to get to the thing that you really want.
Yeah. I think I do want to clarify here, because sometimes, guys, audience, you might be sitting in a comfortable spot, but you want to get to the next level. So this also counts for you. Like, if you're not actually going through that, moving through that, it doesn't always have to be a discomfort or pain. It could be like status quo and mediocrity. And I'm saying that not throwing shade, I'm saying that mediocrity for your level, right? So some people like stay in that comfort zone and they talk about wanting to move into the next level, but they're not really like doing exactly what you said. And one other thing that I want to bring up here, and Amanda and I are actually reading a book at the same time, reading Audible book at the same time. And one thing that he says a lot is, because there's fear at that like resistance too, right? And he says because he feels it, even though he's uber successful, he just doesn't give it time. So he's not giving that fear time. And I think a lot of times we give that resistance, that fear time, and then it becomes this like mountain out of a molehill type of thing. And using the tools that you're actually teaching gives us the ability, and like you said, that conscious repowering of oneself to actually like make that speed of implementation. We speak a lot about speed of implementation. So that way you don't sit in the fear, which creates more resistance.
Yeah, it's the domino effect for sure. I mean, I think that there's value in feeling every emotion, including fear. But to your point, it's about not staying there, right?
Absolutely.
It's about consciously making like the decision or taking the one next step. I talk a lot about the one next step. What's one tiny thing that we can do today? Because we often are looking for clarity, we're looking for momentum, we're looking for confidence. How do we create that? Action. We've got to move. Because if we don't move, we stay in it. We spin our wheels in it. The mud flings everywhere. Everything gets nasty, right? Like, because at that point, your subconscious mind is going to be like, great, glad you're sitting here. I have a lot of things to tell you, or a lot of things to remind you of, right? So feel everything that you need to feel, but just don't stay there. Choose to do one next thing that helps move you along.
100%. And he
100%.
actually talks about that too, about feeling it and moving past it. And one thing that and Amanda and I've spoke about this a lot, but there are some other famous people who talk about it. But when you start to numb or ignore those feelings or certain aspects, it does ripple effect into other aspects of your life. So sit with it, honor it, move it, like take that action. So I love that you said that.
Absolutely. So if there were one last thing that you could share with our audience, what would it be?
I like to intuitively answer this question, just depending on what the space and the energy is calling. And tonight, I think I just want to say that it's okay to make a change. It's okay to want something different. It's okay to want to pivot, regardless of how much time, money, or effort you've put into something. If the spark is not there, if the alignment is not there, if the connection is not there, you don't have to continue to force yourself to do something that doesn't bring you joy anymore. It's okay to shift into something that feels good in your soul, right? That you wake up and you're fucking excited about again. That like, it doesn't, you don't feel like you want to procrastinate or put it off until the 11th hour. You're excited to do it. You can't wait to get your hands into it. The ideas are pouring towards you. And even though great things also come with obstacles and challenges, make sure that the thing that you're doing is really lighting your ass up in the best of ways every day.
I love that. Exactly. Give yourself a reason to wake up. And I always make the analogy of, people who say that they're not morning people because they just can't make themselves wake up. And I'm not saying like be a morning person. I feel like I'm both night and day these days. But like if you had a trip, your dream vacation, you would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do it, and you would wake up excited, even though it was beyond your recognition to ever want to wake up that early. If you're excited to do it, you're going to wake up and you're going to do it. And you've got to find something that you love that does give you that same feeling of excitement to do it and put the action in and to make those changes and to face the fear, do it anyway, all those things. So finding that thing, it exists. You just got to find it.
Sure does.
Absolutely. So how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So the best way to find all things me is at LauraAura.com. It's LauraAura.com. I play a lot on TikTok and Facebook. I put up all kinds of reels to help plant some nuggets of wisdom in your head to get you thinking differently. So I'm on social at that LauraAura. And the Gutsy podcast. You can listen to episodes twice a week. Lots of nuggets of wisdom and guidance, both through guests and myself, to not only help you get out of your own way, but really do the things that light your ass up.
100%. We love, love, love that. Thank you so much for being on our show today. I always love when we have incredible guests on the show, because when I inevitably re-listen to it 15 times before it actually airs, I always get pumped up. Like I get so much done in like the hour after every podcast. So thanks. Thanks for letting my fire.
Anytime and always.
And realigning us. And I love I love it when people come up with the little fancy acronyms or like that stuff, because it's just like, now that will forever live, because they were things that I would do, but now I'm always going to think Laura. Love
there
it.
You go.
All right. Everything will be in the show notes. So don't forget to reach out and give Laura a holla. Thank you again for being on our podcast. Till next time, everybody.
Get after it.
All right, everyone. It's not enough to just listen.
Now you've got to put it into action.
We are so excited to see what you do next.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review on iTunes.
And to find out more about what we're doing, visit us at thepursuitofbadasserie.com.